Welcome back, everyone, to the Colorado Victim Advocate Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Intervention, Inc. We are a Colorado-based nonprofit organization created in 1986, providing a range of services in the criminal and social justice system. Intervention, we provide direct offenders supervision and support for those justice-involved persons sentenced to probation or community corrections. In addition, we also provide pretrial monitoring services, useful public service, and comprehensive victim services. For more information, you can visit our website at www.int-cjs.org. Again, I want to thank all of you for being here today. My name is Randy, and I am the Director of Victim Services and our Survivor Empathy panels here at Intervention. And today, as you know, here at our podcast, we always try to highlight the wonderful and necessary work of the Colorado Victim Advocate community. And today, our guests are Bailey and Karina of the 4th Judicial District Problem-Solving Courts in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So welcome to you both.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Randy.
Appreciate so much for being here. I really do. Because, a lot of times, too, in several judicial districts around the state, we have 23 here, several of those court systems, they may have their own specialized court processes. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, because they're in the 4th. They have several problem-solving courts, specialty courts, if you want to call them that. And I'd like to talk about those today. So, Karina, can you tell me, or Bailey, tell me a little bit about those, the court process that you have there, the specialty courts.
Yeah. So in the 4th Judicial District, we serve El Paso and Teller County, and we have 10 different specialty and problem-solving courts that we utilize to serve different types of populations. So just a few of them, I won't go through all 10, but we've got our recovery court, which is basically drug court, which you'll see in a lot of different jurisdictions. We've got DUI court, veterans trauma court, domestic violence court, competency court, and a number of other ones, all really focusing on the specific problems that are affecting the individuals involved in the justice system and really addressing those underlying concerns to reduce recidivism, be able to hold offenders accountable, but also understand that there is trauma and deeper underlying concerns that we need to address. So we've got a great team of people who work with all of our problem-solving and specialty courts, and I am the unified coordinator. I work a little bit with all of them. So Karina has served as one of our coordinators for domestic violence court in the past, and she's now with competency court, but I'm sure she can give a little bit more information on what domestic violence court is too.
Please, Karina, tell us a little bit about that, because obviously you guys have a lot of really great specialty courts there. And I'd really like folks to know more about it, because there might be some jurisdictions out there that are looking to do what you do, because there aren't that many that I'm aware of that actually have a specialty court.
Yeah, absolutely, Randy. DV court is one of those specialty courts that there's not a lot of them in jurisdictions, and a lot of people definitely want to implement them as they see the need for them. As Bailey mentioned, I was one of the coordinators there. I worked underneath Erin Walker, so big shout out to Erin. She is still running DV court right now. But DV court is a specialty court. It addresses domestic violence and treating those individuals that have past and current DV history. During that court, this is a post-plea court, so they have to plead prior to coming into this court system. Ultimately, then they're assessed, and the DV provider ultimately makes the determination based on validated assessments, risk and lethality scores. So it's a pretty lengthy process. They come with us coordinators first. We do the first psychosocial evaluation, making sure that we have information on their Medicaid insurance, where they're living, do some minor ACEs. Then we give that same information over to the DV therapist and the evaluator, who does a more extensive evaluation with them. Then those scores come back. And again, these are ultimately validated assessments on like risk and lethality, on antisocial behavior, right? Basically letting us know, are they a good fit for this program? Although we do take high risk, high need. So a lot of these individuals do come with several charges, misdemeanors, felonies.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely want to make sure that this is going to be a right court for them, and a right placement, because we don't want to put people into this court system that ultimately are not going to be successful, for various reasons.
Okay, so that's really interesting. You say that it's a post plea court system, and so folks will come to you. They will have already gone through the initial process, pretrial things like that, and then of course, as you just said, they'll plea, and then they'll go to your court, and they'll have all you guys will have all these assessments, pieces like that, and that will bear on their sentencing. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, they come into post plea. They have, DV court as an option, and depending on where they come from, it could be either DOC, it can be ComCore, it can be standard probation, it could be different things. But this is one of the other options that is given to them, um, as a part of their sentencing.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting to hear. So, you talked about a lot of different assessments and pieces that go into a defendant's sentencing part. And with regards to that, I mean, are those personnel there in the court at the same time during the plea?
Yeah, so after they get to the assessment and the second evaluation with the DV evaluator, we set them back to come back to court for a decision. During that, everyone's in staffing. So we have the substance abuse therapist, probation is there, the DA, the PD, coordinators are there, victim advocates, CASA is there, and the DV evaluator is there to give real time feedback, on this individual, to give further updates on whether yes or not that we should be accepting them and the reasonings behind it. So we have actual real live discussions about this to go in depth, because again, we take this really serious. We understand that these individuals are really high risk. So we want to make sure that we are doing the right thing for public safety, for victim safety. So it's pretty in depth, thing.
That's incredible because I mean, just the collaboration and the coordination of something like that is incredible. I mean, how were you able to get that started? Because I mean, again, like I said, there might be some judicial districts out there that may say, "Wow, I mean, how did they get that started? I mean, and how do you coordinate all those folks coming in at once?"
Oh my God, Randy, it took a lot of time. And again, big shout out to Erin. She has been working on this relentlessly to try and get the name, in this program up and running from the beginning. I came into the program when it was already free flowing and going well. But it was ultimately created by Judge Miles. He was a district attorney office prosecutor. And then he kind of, I guess, had conversations with some of his colleagues and started to see and realize the pattern of need of these cases coming in. And like, he saw that there was a gap in services, that they needed to address the actual problem, and not just, oh, there's another DV case, let them out, right? What was the underlying problem, and really assessing and giving that therapeutical, feedback for it, I guess you would say. So he got with him and some of his other former friends, and that's how DV Court was born.
That's incredible because I mean I remember Judge Miles when we were there starting our survivor empathy panels, and he was a big supporter of them, and that's really wonderful to hear that he was certainly one of the folks that was getting this started. I think that's incredible to have that process. And so in talking about that, as far as the process itself, so it does differ from county and district courts. So you see both misdemeanors and felonies.
Yeah, that's correct. We see both of them. They come in sometimes with multiple cases. Um, and most of our, defendants that come in have prior DV cases as well. So this isn't the
Okay.
first time. That's why it's the high risk, high need individuals. So it's just a lot more supervision that we give them. But they definitely do come in with multiple either misdemeanors or felonies. I don't know if you wanted to add to that, Bailey.
Yeah. So they can come in with a number of different charges. Obviously, the domestic violence core there. We've got a number of different programs that might be able to assist them. Obviously, a number of the participants have underlying mental health concerns or substance abuse concerns. So yeah, they might be able to be served in something like our recovery court, but we recognize that recovery court, veterans trauma court, other specialty and problem-solving dockets don't address the underlying concerns of the power and control dynamics like the domestic violence court is specialized to do. The entire team really recognizes those dynamics, has experience in those dynamics, and is able to really focus on those. And that's another reason why we require everyone to plea prior to coming into the program. You know, we don't want to have someone go through trial and be convicted and then, you know, still be saying, oh, well, I'm innocent. You know, anyone who's coming in, we want to make sure they are taking accountability, saying, yes, I did these things. They're being supervised on probation, going to all of these different requirements, substance use treatment, mental health treatment, domestic violence offender treatment. So we're really holding them accountable for whatever those different level charges are going to be.
And so you talked about that with regards to the dynamic of the underlying dynamic, as you know, of domestic violence with regards to power and control. And when you have that in that context, what is the involvement of victims in this process? I mean, you know, how are they involved in all of it?
Yeah, obviously, we want to recognize that the victims have had their voices taken away so many times, and we really want to center the victims, empower them, and allow them to have participation in this process. It's wouldn't be fair to just kind of continue on with all of this with them in the background. We really want to center them, but also recognize that many of them don't want to be involved in this process very deeply. So we give them the option. We have victim advocates who are in court every single week.
Oh, great.
Yes, specifically with Tessa, which is a local organization here. Great
Big
organization.
shout out to Tessa, doing
Shout
great
out
work.
to Tessa.
Doing great
Yeah.
work there in
Yes,
Colorado
they
Springs. Always have been. Big shout out to Tessa.
They're killing it. Yeah. So we have one of their victim advocates in court every single week. She has a specialized caseload of the victims in the cases with the participants from domestic violence court. So she's regularly in contact with them, making sure, you know, we are being able to give them a voice. And then she is communicating that within staffings and docket to make sure that, hey, this is what's going on from the victim's side. This is what they want to see in the situation. And be able to kind of have that representation there without also requiring that victims come in themselves, because that can be really triggering. It's a very lengthy ongoing process. You know, participants are in court weekly in some cases. So we don't want to require victims come in and be giving these updates. That can all go through the victim advocate where they can have that voice, but not need to be face to face with their offender.
Okay, so that brings up a really good point. So are the victims listed in these cases, are they subpoenaed to be there, or they could just be there in court?
No,
Karina,
yeah, definitely. So they are not subpoenaed. It's very rare when they are subpoenaed into cases. And that just can take something very drastic, right? But that rarely happens. We don't try and re-traumatize the victims at all. We encourage them to come if they want to be there, even if they're online virtually, and they just want to hear what's going on, they're able to do that. So yeah, definitely not. We don't want to re-traumatize them. As Bailey mentioned, this is already a traumatizing thing that they went through, and going into court and re-seeing their offender. So we utilize the victim advocate a lot to kind of be that mediator between them, and that kind of voice, and been like, hey, I did talk to them and this is what's going on, or they're really fearful of this, or they're kind of concerned about the modification of protection orders that happening, what's going on. So they really do raise concerns. Sometimes we don't have a lot of victim contact, which is very common. We don't hear from them. So it's kind of 50-50.
Would that impact any type of the sentencing that you've seen if the victim doesn't show up? And as advocates, you just talked about why many of them don't show up. But would that in any way impact any of the sentencing?
For them to come into DV court themselves, or
if they didn't?
So if they go into court for DV court and they've already plead and they are screened and then they are accepted, they don't have to, because then they are accepted. They don't have to come. They can definitely are more than welcome. And we've had situations where victims come and read an impact letter stating why it is that they don't feel like, them being in this program would be appropriate, and potentially going to prison is better. So we have that, but ultimately, when they're accepted, then the victims don't really have much to say. But if it's like a reviolation or a new case or something that could land them back into jail, it becomes very crucial to hear the voices of the victims, because having them there can be the determination of them being incarcerated or not. And sometimes when they don't show up, it's unfortunate, but the charges get dismissed because they're not there.
It's
So
understandable.
it's difficult. You don't want to bring them in, but you definitely do need them at times to
Well,
serve
certainly too.
justice.
Yeah, certainly too. Looking at the experience as to what they went through with the reading of the police reports, all those pieces like that. And so, yes, obviously, as we know in this state, victims don't press charges. As we hear in the media, it's like, no, they don't press charges.
Yeah.
It's the people of the state of Colorado that do. And obviously, we know as advocates that's important, because that takes away if you want to call it, the responsibility of the victim holding that over the defendant, who's either currently involved, formerly involved, have children with. And so I think that's certainly important that you still take that into consideration, but you also look at the defendant's criminal history, whatever happened, as far as what brought them there. And so Karina, you brought up a lot of things in what you just said, and those are all very important. But I mean, can you expand on that? Or Bailey, what are some of the concerns that some victims, have to say in this process when they get to your court? I mean, do they understand, or are they certainly concerned, well, why is this going to a specialized court?
Yeah, I can definitely speak on that a little bit, Bailey. So the victims, they are concerned that they're just getting off easy, right?
Oh,
This is
okay.
just a program. And then it takes a lot of education to let them know that this program is not easy by all means. We do
Mm-hmm.
require a lot. We require them to be in court. Some of them have ankle monitors. They have to go to treatment, therapy. They have to drop UAs. They have to maintain their protection orders. They have to meet with their probation officer. They have a lot to do, and we really hold them really highly in accountability. So even when they're
Mm-hmm.
going to treatment, um, as we kind of tell them, especially when I used to screen them at the beginning, I'm like, don't don't BS, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not what we want, and you're not going to just kind of cross things out and move forward, kind of like check market. That's not how this
Sure.
program works. So it's a lot of education and letting the public know, as well as the victims, like, this is not easy at
Mm-hmm.
all. And it is required for them to come, right? They're like, well, what do we do for work, or what's going on? They are still required to make these requirements that the court has for them.
Mm-hmm. And so obviously in talking about that, making sure that whatever type of sentence the defendant receives, the victim understands that, and they hopefully will know that. But with regards to that, I mean, the work that you do obviously is very important. And from the standpoint of a victim, do you tend to see, because I know in this field that we get a lot of I don't know if you want to call it complaints. I would call them concerns. I actually had one this morning from a DV victim. But what are some of I guess you want to call it the complaints that you might hear about this program, other than saying what you said, that it might just be, another program kind of thing.
Yeah, I can add into that. Kind of with any of our problem solving courts, obviously, like what Karina said and what you touched on, Randy, is, it's letting them off easy.
Mhm.
And so that's a complaint not just from survivors or victims, but the general public. It's looking at, hey, are we really holding them accountable? Yes, probably more so than if we were sending them to jail, because we're having all of these requirements and they have to acknowledge their wrongdoing. Just to get into the program, and there's that
Mhm.
continued accountability. But other complaints, obviously when victims, especially if they have children together, there's
Sure.
going to be that ongoing relationship for however many years. And so it's okay, especially when there's an underlying power and control dynamics. Okay, this person, the participant's telling the court one thing, their treatment provider's one thing, and then look at them treating me still badly, or not communicating the way that they're saying that they're needing to communicate with us. And so there's obviously ongoing things, and you've got people who are in a relationship. There's feelings involved,
Still in the
emotions
relationship.
still in a
Yes.
relationship. Whether some of the survivors, are staying with the participants while they're actively in court. And so that's just something that kind of happens sometimes, is there's those emotions involved. And then if we are ending up holding an offender accountable for certain things, sometimes you've got the survivor who is not wanting them to being participating in these things. And okay, now you're requiring all of this of them, and it's making there's an added strain on relationships if survivors are still involved with the offender at any point, because it's a very intensive program. I hope that answered the question a little
No,
bit.
it really does, because as I like to say, back in the bad old days, when I was in court, it was a long time ago. When I was in court, I mean, it sounds like those are the very similar questions, concerns, complaints, frustration, if you want to call it, the victims have. Everything from, why do they have to do this? And we see this in at the probation level and post-conviction level. This is just, money going out of our house. This is causing more problems with us. But I think you certainly brought that piece up, Bailey, and Karina as well, is that this is about accountability. This is about safety. This is about dealing with an issue, dealing with a violation of law. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to tell victims that it's like, well, but the alternative is they're going to go to jail. The alternative is they're going to go to prison. Or the alternative is where the case is going to be dismissed. And, a lot of times too, we just try to bring that education to victims, letting them know as best we can that, ultimately, this isn't your fault. This is the responsibility of the defendant. This is the responsibility of what they did to you. This is what they did in front of your children or to your children. And there has to be some accountability for it. And by giving them that information, even some of it, sometimes, will they leave there? Will they leave court? I just remember, happy? No. I try to tell people all the time, I guess there's only two types of persons that leave court or go to court who want to be there. People who are getting married and adoptions. And pretty much outside of that, nobody wants to go to court. And so I think in seeing that, giving that information to victims, I mean, do you have a lot of contact with folks after, your court?
I just wanted to touch a little bit more on that, Randy,
Sure.
and the fact that this is also a program that, because it's so intensive in therapy as well, we're trying to break those patterns, right? As we mentioned at the
Sure.
beginning, Judge Viles saw that gap of the process and what was going on and the underlying issues that were being addressed, right? So it's really being able to focus on that. So I just wanted to throw that in
No,
there.
that is important. That is, the reason, because a lot of times too, with regards to that, the gaps are the places that we obviously need to fill in. And in looking at that, bringing a court such as this that really does, bring it to have professionals who are experienced, who are trained, who understand. And I think that really does, solve a lot of these issues that are coming with such a complex crime of domestic violence in and of itself. And, so, you guys have talked a lot about, I mean, kind of, I mean, it sounds like a lot is going on in court at this time. I mean, what time do you guys start docket and, that type of thing? I mean, how long does that last?
It's a full day event. We start at 1:15 is when staffing starts on Tuesdays.
Okay.
And then it goes all the way up until sometimes up to 3, which is when docket starts.
Okay.
Just depending on what's going on that day, how many people are on the docket, and is there a lot of things that need to get discussed and addressed. So therefore, we're prepared. And then docket starts at 3 and can go anywhere until 4:30 or 5. Sometimes I've seen it and been there when it's gone longer. There's just a lot going on. It just really depends. Every docket can be completely different. Every staffing can be completely different. So it's not always the same.
And this
some
is
of them
all
can be really good.
And this is all in Colorado Springs at the main courthouse. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So, and I'll add on that a little bit. So again, to recognize Aaron Walker and Judge Miles, this is the first and only domestic violence court in Colorado. There are a few others scattered throughout the country, but this is the
I have to
only.
say, I know quite a few of them, and this is pretty intense. I
It's
mean, and that's
intense.
good because
Yeah,
it needs to
and
be, and I tell people it's like, if it wasn't, then we might not be doing what we're supposed to be doing.
exactly. And this,
Exactly.
yeah, the staffings are super important. So this is in El Paso County and in the main courthouse in Colorado Springs. The staffings every single week. You've got probation officer, treatment, a substance use treatment provider, domestic violence treatment provider, the coordinators, victim advocate, the judge, CASA is there, law enforcement's there, and everyone is talking about every single individual case that's going to be seen that day, their progress throughout the past week or however many weeks, improvements, shortcomings, things we need to work on. And so we're
Sure.
really diving into it in very deep levels to talk about every single situation. Obviously, there are the private conversations that the participant has with the therapists and the providers, but otherwise, we're all laying it all out there. We're saying this is where the drug test came back. This is what we need to be concerned about. Has this person tried to contact the victim? Has this person not been complying? And so we're talking about every single little thing. And then in docket, it's not just going through the motions. We are actively speaking, the judge is actively speaking with the participant at length, trying to understand what's going on that week, acknowledging when they've done well and acknowledging when there's things that need to be improved on.
This is just incredible. And I should have asked at the very beginning, how long has this court been in place?
Oh my gosh. I believe since 2018, right
That's
before
right.
COVID, have started. So
Okay.
it's been going on for quite some time now. Now that I really said that out loud, wow, 2018, and then COVID
Well,
happened, and then that's just like a blurb.
sure. Sure. No, no, I completely understand. No, this is just incredible, and I certainly want to, thank both of you for being here today with us. Is there anything that either of you folks would like to add, any type of acknowledgments that you would like to make? Because, that's important too. The work that you do, Bailey, the work that you do, Karina, that's important. And that's why we have this podcast, because, when we first created it, there's a lot of podcasts out there, about the courts, law, survivors, all that. And I had not found anything with regards specifically to the advocacy community. So I want to acknowledge that. But is there anything else that you guys would like to add to this recording?
I just want to give a huge shout out to the court itself, and everyone working in there. This is not an easy job that we do, but the outcomes of it can be very positive, and I've definitely seen them happen. Um, yeah, that's all I want to. And thank you for having us.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much for being here with us today. We really do appreciate having Bailey and Karina. They work both in the 4th Judicial District Domestic Violence Specialty Court in Colorado Springs. And the Colorado Victim Advocate podcast, we can be found on Spotify and on our YouTube channel. And we certainly hope you join us for another episode, as we always close by saying, as these two individuals are, the victim advocacy community, we're a noun, we're a subject, we're a verb, and we're an adjective. And I want to thank all of you for listening today. Thank you so much for being here today.
Randy.
Thank you.